Hi, and welcome to the AzTech International podcast. I'm your host today, Austin Fernley, with AzTech International, where we aim to make the complex simple. This is our second episode in our GovAI series, where today we're going to be talking about AI and risk management. I'm joined today by Noah Harris. Noah Harris is an earned value consultant here at AzTech International. Noah, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me on, Austin. It's a pleasure to be
Yeah,
here.
it's good to have you. I want to start off by asking you just the baseline question. What is risk management in your eyes, and how do you think
Mhm.
people are doing risk management right now today?
Okay, so to give a smart aleck response to that, risk management is the managing of risk.
Hmm.
Um, but specifically, it's all that encompasses that. So, you're identifying risks, and you're assessing and responding to those risks in your project. So, you have to integrate those considerations into your, forecasts and your decision making going forward, to most accurately manage your project and make sure um, it leads to success down the road.
What are some of the methods or things that people are kind of doing right now for risk management?
So a big one is Monte Carlo simulations,
Okay.
with 3-point estimates. So essentially, you are taking all of these tasks that you have in your project, and running thousands upon thousands of simulations, uh, and based off of just some inputs on specific key tasks that you identify on the
Mhm.
critical path. um, you can kind of see, what are the odds I'm going to hit my targets?
I see.
You know, am I going to be late? Most likely going to be late, or am I most likely going to be early?
Hmm.
And by how much? So.
Okay. Uh, in general, right now, not necessarily in the earned value world, but just AI at large, because it's really growing in all tech industry.
Yeah.
The way people are using AI is most jobs have something that's like I could categorize as like a common task or a simple task, right? And maybe that's 40% of your tasks or 20% of your tasks or something like that. The rest of them, or even a majority of your tasks, could be like human and very specific, but there exists some regularity that you do. And AI is really good at kind of doing that sort of thing. And what they'll do is they'll give a solution to an entire team, and then they'll make up productivity in the aggregate, right? If I had
Mhm.
cut 20% work off of 10 people, I've made two employees all of a sudden, right? Like that's the idea. How do you see AI in risk management? Do you think it's going to be something similar? It's going to be a little different? What are your thoughts on
Yeah, I mean, AI is an incredible tool, and I think we're just scratching the surface.
that? Hmm.
So currently, I don't know, if there's as much value as we would like,
Okay.
in risk management. Um, but as time goes on, these tools are just going to get better and better.
Right.
Um, there was a study, I think I heard about this. It was, with what was this? Published in actually the National Library of Medicine. I just went
Mhm.
ahead and pulled it up just so I'm not missing any of the facts here. But they actually ran AI against medical experts
Mhm.
in diagnosing, um, certain diseases or health conditions and stuff, and it was on par with some of the doctors, and their success rate in um, you know recognizing these health issues.
Hmm.
So it's pretty impressive. AI has a very good knack at identifying trends and
Right. Right.
data points, and I think our projects are littered with those. And it's so data driven that AI can just go in and potentially theoretically scan it all, come out the other end with a beautiful analysis. We're not quite there
So,
yet. Uses a lot of human intervention, but we
right,
can get
right.
there.
If you had AI that had sufficient training then, or
Mhm.
you had sufficient data, what are some of the things that it would be able to do? What would that look
All right, yeah. So you could ask it questions in real time.
Mhm.
So let's say you have this all powerful risk management AI loaded up on your computer, and you go in, you run your simulations. Now it has all the same information you have. You've got this nice report. You put all your data in, and it says, okay, I think your 3-point estimates might be a little generous in this case, and
Mhm.
here's why. And then you just go in and make those tweaks and stuff, and then you can kind of rerun it, and then see what the outcomes are. You could say, "Ooh, that's not what I expected. Why is that?" And then the AI can tell you, "Oh, you're late because these tasks, maybe it's just your schedule logic. Maybe you have some hard constraints in there or something like that, and
I
you
see.
you realize, oh, shouldn't have those. Need to go back to the scheduler and talk about this. But maybe everything's modeled perfectly, and this is just the reality that you're facing,
Mm.
um, whether it's good or bad. And you can have a more of a conversation. You can also potentially you would be able to get early warning signs,
Mhm.
from that analysis, and something that might not seem like it would be a risk could be flagged as a risk. Like I said, the AI when compared against some doctors, um, when we were able to identify some of these health concerns and health issues, you're doing that with your schedule essentially. And
Right.
sometimes we just don't have the time to do that in-depth analysis.
Mm.
Um, and if AI can do that for us, then we can identify these risks, ahead of time, mitigate them, way before they become something, big, and just have healthier, more successful projects overall.
Would you see yourself as a project doctor? Is that the
A project doctor?
Yeah.
Not yet. I'm still in my residency, but
I see,
one
I
day.
see. Okay, all right. Well, as it stands today, then, how do you think that AI in its current state would help like a CAM or a project manager?
Yeah. Before I dive into that, I want to say, AI has limitations currently,
Mhm.
and there are a lot of concerns about, data privacy and that sort of thing. So any working professional, especially in our industry, GovCon, earn value, um, if you're dealing with, sensitive data and stuff, you don't want to just plug that away into any old AI tool, right?
Mhm.
You want to be very conscious with how you're handling your data. And, most people are very, very good at that. And I think they're very aware of that. Um, but you can, strip out, all those sensitive details and just give a general picture of the situation, right?
Mhm.
And you can frame that to an AI. And let's say, you're a CAM and you're looking at this task, and you have some past history, and you want to just kind of get a second opinion on
Mhm.
your inputs. You're doing a 3-point estimate for an SRA. So you're giving your optimistic, most likely, and pessimistic duration estimates to when this task will finish. Um, and you have your rationale, and you just check it, with an AI and just say, hey, is this realistic? This is some, uh, past scenarios with a task similar to this. Again, using very general information. And it
Mhm.
can kind of, give you a quick reality check and say, oh, yeah, you're right on point. Or you might want to be a little bit more pessimistic with this one. It looks like you guys had some issues in the past. The supplier was late 9 times out of 10. So maybe, add a little bit of risk in there.
That's really interesting. So, even though you won't give it details or get anything specific, you're saying with the current state of AI, it's really reasonable for me to expect to get in the ballpark, right? Maybe if I have some intuition, I can just validate that intuition, maybe.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah, and
okay.
and it really does ultimately it comes back to you, as the user.
Right.
AI is just a tool. It's not going
It's
to
just a
be,
tool, right?
you can't say, "Oh, AI ate my homework," right? It's not an excuse for bad data.
Mm,
Ultimately, it's your responsibility to check and validate. But it is something that can really help in a pinch. If you don't have another person you can bounce an idea off of,
right.
you can turn to AI. If you don't have somebody who can, check your work, you can turn to AI, and then you can kind of assess that and then take it forward, and then you just have one extra layer of checks that you've done. You've checked your own work, something else has checked your work. It always helps to have a second pair of eyes.
That is a good point. You can just use it as a sounding board. I mean, it's really helpful. I mean,
Hmm.
before AI and all of this, I mean, it was always really helpful to just talk to a colleague
Yeah,
generally, right? And so
yeah,
if you just have access to AI, it's in your pocket, it's on your computer, just just thinking it out, right? Maybe that's also really valuable.
yeah.
Um, if I was if I wanted to start using AI right now, so I'm a CAM or a project manager, I don't use AI. Everyone's talking about AI. I want to start doing something to make my life better. What would you suggest to them?
Right. I mean, I gave that example with the cam there and their 3 point estimates.
Mhm.
That's sort of one case. But even on another scale, project managers can use it to again, bounce off some ideas and say, how can we mitigate this risk? Here's
Right.
what the risk is. This is how it will impact this project. What's the best way I can, minimize this risk? And of course, if you're just throwing it into any old model, it'll give you a very general list of ideas.
Right.
Some of them are pretty obvious, but then you can continue and dig deeper into some of those and say, well, can't really do this or this, but those three seem possible.
Hmm.
Given these extra parameters, you know, what am I looking at?
Right.
And again, it's a conversation, these tools are out there to just kind of go back and forth with and help you kind of formulate some ideas. And, you know, um, I've always been told and felt too that writing stuff down is such a great way to just, get your thoughts out,
Mhm.
kind of work through problems and problem solve, sketching things out. I do feel, that AI takes that to another level, right?
Right. Okay.
Not only are you writing things down, but you're also getting some real-time feedback of what you're writing. So that can be very, very helpful in the decision-making process. How do we
Right.
move forward from here?
That's a good point. Um, I guess then, as far as the future goes, what do you hope the AI would be when it comes to risk management? If you could wave a magic wand, you could have the future you wanted. What would that look like? What are you hoping for?
Do my job without taking my job. I
Do
think
my
that's what
job
we're
without doing
all crossing our fingers for here. No, but
right.
but in on a more serious note, yeah, I think we have tools like you know, uh, at risk, Saffron and Barbacana's Full Monty.
Mhm.
We have tools that perform these risk analysis, um, and they can run the reports and generate the data or the graphs and stuff that you can use in your reports.
Mhm.
Um, so we kind of have some aspects of this already, but it would be fantastic to see this all-powerful risk management tool that analyzes your project from start to finish,
Mhm.
can identify where there's health issues in your schedule that you need, to go back and work with your scheduler on. Identifies tasks that may not be risky yet and that will be risky in the future. Um, and just gives you, some tips and some areas of focus that you need to really drill down on and say, okay, this is a big risk, but this is even bigger risk that we haven't identified, and this is how we can mitigate those. Um, you know, Something that's more holistic, I think is
I see.
uh, the golden screwdriver here.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you for talking with me today about risk management. This concludes the second episode of our GovAI series. I'd like to encourage our viewers to tune in to our next episode of our GovAI series, AI tools for planners and schedules. So if you're a planner and scheduler, uh, please stop by. You can also follow our campaign through LinkedIn and our mailers. We unpack more changing technology in order to make the complex simple. One of the things that we would suggest that you do is on our site, check out our EV and AI Gold Card. It's an infographic. It explains really quickly the different types of complexities of problems and the type of AI solution you would need to solve it. It's a really great reference guide to see what shoe size fits your problem, right? And how AI can work into your routine. Also, if you're looking for a little more information, be sure to check out our blogs at www.goaztech.com. Again, our site is www.goaztech.com. Noah, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Austin. It's been a pleasure.
Likewise. All right. Take care.
Bye, everybody.